James Charles has yet to make a public statement about allegations thrown his way by an underage TikTok star, but James has sent screenshots of the DM conversation to drama channels, and as the situation unfolds, it's looking more and more like he was set up. I'm gonna tell you why I think this right now on IO. What is gravy, fam? This is InformOverload. I'm Charlotte. On this channel we do the news, we spill the tea, we chug the coffee, eat potato. We dip the potato in the coffee. Subscribe for spicy trending news updates and follow the IO team on social media. We got an update for you on the situation regarding James Charles and an underage TikTok star who claims that James sent him inappropriate messages, even though he claims James knew he was underage. If you haven't seen my last video on this subject, I'll post a link in the comments for you. Essentially, based on the proof, the screenshots that this underage TikTok star shared in this video, I thought things looked a little fishy, because while only one side of the conversation was shown, James's messages were there, but there were no messages from this TikTok star, even though based on James's responses, you can see that there's a full conversation being had between them. So the TikToker has actually responded to the criticism about only half the conversation being shown. He pinned this comment at the top of his video. For everyone saying, why are your messages deleted? Go block someone on Instagram, then unblock them and tell me where your messages are at. I don't know why I have to explain myself. Everyone's missing out on the big picture. That is actually not true, and I looked into it. I went into some past conversations where I had blocked people, and both sides of the conversations are still there, regardless of whether or not I blocked them. So Ethan has said that more proof is going to come out, and I'm interested to see this proof. But so far, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, based on the evidence that I have seen and I have shown you guys, Ethan hasn't shared anything that backed up his story. Only that he was talking to James Charles, which is bad, you know. James shouldn't really be talking to people that are age, but also he's friends with a lot of TikTok stars. He did a video with Charlie D'Amelio, so I mean, this is looking more and more like it's a setup, and I know that's a general opinion of most people, but not all. Most of them though. James has not responded yet. In fact, it's likely he's not going to address this situation publicly at all, and that is because unlike this TikTok star who claims he's been talking to lawyers and law enforcement, when you actually have your lawyers involved, they tell you not to say anything publicly because it actually jeopardizes the case. You don't want your story to be wishy-washy and all over the internet. It puts your case in jeopardy, and yeah, it just basically gives the other side ammo against you. What James has been doing is reaching out to drama channels with screenshots of their conversation, particularly the part of the conversation where he asked this TikToker what his age was. He said to multiple people that this TikTok star said he was 18. I would also like you to note that the first message in this conversation is, I just want to shoot my shot, which is another way of saying this TikTok star is hitting on James Charles. At least that's how I interpreted it. So his thing about, you know, James being the instigator and he having, you know, nothing to do with it and he just kept trying to be friends, it's not true. I'll read out the conversation for you now. Again, the messages are blurry because this is the screenshot of Drama Alert's video. James sent the screenshots to him. I'm not that cool. I would have reached out to James if he followed me on Twitter, but he doesn't. Ethan says, I was just trying to shoot my shot, but I guess I'll leave you alone. James says, I was just asking a simple question, and you screenshotted that snap, which leads me to believe that you were not shooting your shot, rather messaging me just to try to start something or lead me on. Also, you said, hey, and what you doing, lol. Neither of those messages come off as shooting your shot. Well, you have 3 photos, no stories, and none of your other social medias listed, so I have no way of knowing anything about you at all. How old are you? That is when Ethan sends a photo that likely showed how old he was in some way. But that's interesting because he sent a photo that disappears instead of just typing out 2 numbers. According to James, when he sent this photo and told him his age, he said he was 18. Another drama YouTuber that James Charles sent screenshots to is Dustin Daly. He has not shared the actual screenshots. Again, guys, we are dealing with someone who is underage and his privacy needs to be protected, which is why we haven't shared his photo. But Dustin read out the DMs on his channel.
But James sent me some DMs, and it was a picture of this kid in the mirror, and then it was James saying the eye roll emoji, and he said LOL back again, and this guy said, nah, just got something to say. James said, question mark, someone sent me that podcast of you and Logan. Kind of felt like shade was thrown. And James replied to him and said, at you? And this guy replies and says, yeah. James replied to him and said, I promise that I haven't thought about you since you blocked me on Snapchat for the 3rd time, LOL. This guy says, just kind of strange how everything you said on that podcast was kind of everything I told you. Family problems, etc. James replied and said, no, it was actually about a Romanian boy that I was talking to from LA for a few weeks. As I said, I haven't thought about you. The kid sends another picture and it's just him like... And James went on to say, you can believe what you want. It wasn't about you, but clearly the shoe fits. Enjoy your night then. This guy then replies to James and says, stop lying. We was friends. James said, dead emoji, how are you going to come into my DMs accusing me of speaking about you on a podcast where I talked about a guy I was talking to that didn't work out and then 5 minutes later say we didn't talk? This guy says, we didn't talk, you exaggerated. Hella. James replied and said, you said you were bisexual and were into me and that I was beautiful, LMAO. I'm sorry that you're insecure and embarrassed about your sexuality. This guy replies and says, hell nah. And James says, have a nice night. And this kid then says something that really sent up a red flag for me. He said, scandal time, ?
So yes, saying scandal time is quite concerning. To me, it's like you were still talking to James, you wanted to be friends or something else with James, probably to collab with him in the future, who knows. The kid said that he wanted to be friends with James, but the minute that James makes it clear that that friendship isn't gonna happen and he cuts off communication with him, he flips and says that he's going to expose him. This conversation took place very recently, it wasn't in March. James appeared on Logan Paul's podcast just over 10 days ago, so he was still talking to James until very recently. Of course, the facts are pretty hazy, this kind of stuff just keeps coming up for James Charles, unfortunately, and it's getting harder and harder to be on his side. But I also feel bad for him because this is not the first time that someone has tried to make false claims about him. So far, he has cleared his name, and I'm gonna believe that he's innocent until proven guilty because that's how the law works. The opinion on this around the drama channels on YouTube varies. Some people think that James should employ an entire team of people to check if people he's talking to online are underage. James is the adult in this situation, even if he was allegedly told that he was speaking to another adult. It is crazy to say, but average people would not have to do this, but James shouldn't talk to anyone online unless he's seen their ID, especially in a romantic manner. Other people are saying, well, if this kid does have malicious intent and his mission was to create a scandal either at the beginning or later on, yeah, he's a kid, but that's still a serious accusation to throw someone's way. You're getting into defamation of character territory. I get that he's a kid and he will likely get off easy if this ever goes to court. If he's lying, we don't know yet. He also probably doesn't fully grasp the consequences of his actions yet, but I mean, this isn't just some clout chasing, this is illegal. You can steal lip gloss from CVS when you're a kid and still get arrested. You will get charged because you're a kid, and you definitely can get in trouble for defaming someone's character as well, especially someone with a huge platform and a lot of power like James Charles, and also a very powerful legal team, I might add. What I want to know is, where's this kid's mama? Where his mama at? Anyways guys, that's my 2 cents on what is happening. Let me know your opinions down below in the comments. For now, I'm gonna respond to some comments from my last video about James Charles. Christine says, sounds like this team was just trying to get his 15 minutes of fame. Deleting everything he said just smells fishy. Just have to wait and see what the authorities find out. Something tells me actually that this won't be settled in the public eye. It'll probably be settled behind closed doors, so we might not ever find out the truth. And frankly, it should have been settled behind closed doors to begin with. Soraya Abdallah said, guys, don't go around saying James did this because there isn't enough proof, but at the same time, take these allegations seriously. I second that. Always, take it with a grain of salt. But again, I know the internet likes to just jump on accusations and think that they're true. It's the internet. You can go on the internet and basically claim anything about anyone these days, and unfortunately, a lot of people will believe it. So, lesson learned from last year, let's not believe anything until more proof comes out. That is it for me, and thanks for watching. Subscribe for a different apparently I need to chug a little more coffee.